Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wager Talk, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wager Talk Media MLB betting guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.
Welcome to the NW Show, powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on SportsMemo.com, at UCapperSports on Twitter. I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt and Jeff Michaels to break down the 3 playoff games that we have happening today. But before we get into those games, I do want to talk about what we got going on over at SportsMemo.com. Make sure you guys head over there. It only takes one single email address to sign up. A lot of things are free there. Free live odds page on the site, the deals page. Cappers provide free picks and analysis on a daily basis, along with the daily packages that they have on sale. Also, make sure you hit the likes and subscribe button before you go. It only takes a couple clicks, and it helps our show grow tremendously. With that said, let's get Matt and Jeff up here with me. Guys, it's been a few games here now, a couple games at least in the NBA playoffs. Man, how's everything going for you guys now that we come to the more meaningful games of the season? Matt, let's start with you.
Yeah, so far so good. I've been kind of going slower to start the playoffs. I've actually only had 2 plays on Monday. I had the Kings money line. Unfortunately, wasn't able to talk about that on the show due to some internet issues, but the Kings did go out and get it done. And yesterday, I was actually with DeAndre Hunter. I thought DeAndre Hunter could potentially have a good game against the Boston Celtics. The Atlanta Hawks definitely need someone like Hunter to score some points in order to keep some of this stuff close. So he was someone that I was targeting, and already have a 4% money line best bet up for tonight. I am 13-4 on money line best bets in 2023, up 35 units. So just looking to keep that going. Finding those nice spots where you can take advantage of a money line rather than a spread. And I think we have another one tonight. So ready to break it down.
I like it. Yeah, we always talk about like transparency on the show and how we've been doing. And so far this week, 4-1 in the NBA playoffs. So hopefully we continue to go in that direction here. Jeff, how's everything going for you for the NBA playoffs?
I can't complain. We started a little slower on the plays, but I've been watching, we're watching how these beginnings are kicking off, and now I'm sure we'll be talking about some injuries today. So, we got to get all our
Yeah.
information together before we start jumping out to those big plays. But hey, a couple big baseball plays for me too. So I'm looking forward to talking some playoffs with you guys though today, no question.
Yeah, for sure. Baseball has been doing really well for me as well. Let's go into these games here. You talk about some of the key injuries that we're going to be talking about. One of them here, John Morant, is questionable for this game. We don't know if he's going to play or not. Definitely a true game time decision. Uh, LeBron, AD, and Schroeder are all probable for the Lakers here. I would think that they all play. From a matchup perspective, obviously the Lakers took game 1. They dominated that second half, guys. They won that second half by 22 points, ended up winning 128 to 112. This is a tough one here. I think a lot of us looked at the Grizzlies. Well, I know I did as a really good regular season team, but I never really thought of them as a big playoff team. For me, I think the Lakers take this series, but do we look at the Grizzlies here to bounce back and then take one at home? Matt, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, Ron, I'm 100% with basically everything you said. I thought the Memphis Grizzlies were a very good regular season team. And once I found out Steven Adams was not coming back, I basically felt like this Grizzlies team was dead in the water. They need his interior presence. They need his defense. They need his rebounding. And again, to your point, I'm also with the Lakers. Before this season or this series started, I had Lakers in 7. I still do have my Western Conference preview and Eastern Conference NBA playoff preview available for a free download if you would like to check that out over on my Sports Memo page. But in this series, I did have Lakers in 7. And again, to your point, a lot of it was because of that interior presence without Steven Adams. And a lot of it was the bench of this Los Angeles Lakers team. I really do believe this Lakers team has one of the better benches throughout the entire NBA. We saw it with someone like Rui Hachimura going off and having something like 24 points, something along those lines, you know? And,
Hmm.
when you have someone like Rui, when you have someone like Dennis Schroeder, when you have someone like Malik Beasley, who we haven't even talked about in some time, those guys are absolute spark plugs. And if they go out and have 20 points, it's very tough to beat a team like the Los Angeles Lakers, who have D'Angelo Russell, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis had a pretty good game. He didn't even explode in this Lakers team, still kind of dominated. But with that being said, everything is situational in the playoffs. I think this is a do or die game already for the Memphis Grizzlies. I personally expect Ja Morant to suit up in this spot, even if he's just a decoy. It is something with his wrist, so it could affect his shooting. He still could attack the basket. He still could dish out, do some things like that. So for me, I'm still with Memphis here. I really do think that this is a huge game for the Memphis Grizzlies. They have guys like Jaren Jackson Jr. They have guys like Desmond Bane who can potentially go out and win a game on their own. Guys like Luke Kennard needs to have a big game tonight. He needs to make some of those outside shots
Hmm.
from the three-point line, give this team a better chance. But for me, I think this is a huge game for Memphis. I think it's a far bigger spot for the Memphis Grizzlies. And generally in the playoffs, when a team heads out on the road, you're looking to get one game. If you get two, that's absolutely gravy. So the Lakers already did their job. Now Memphis needs to do their job, get this done at home, head out to LA, and try and get one in Los Angeles. So for me, I'm with the Memphis Grizzlies here 100%.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on the psychology part of the playoffs there, right? Like having to kind of plan out how you want to run this series. Obviously, they want to win every single game, but at the same time, you can kind of feel a little bit relieved that you stole one on a opponent's turf there. I do have a 4% play on this total tonight, so I'm gonna talk more about the side than the total. You talked about how the Lakers dominated that game in game one. Specifically on the board, second chance points, and on the fast breaks, they shot great from the field, 53%, including 43 from the 3-point department, and that's something that's rare for them because I think they were like bottom 5 in 3-point shooting during the regular season or post All-Star break for the most part. So I think we're going to see a little bit of regression from the Lakers side there offensively. Both teams typically great at getting to the free throw line too, but we only saw each team go to the free throw line 16 times. I talked about this last year in the playoffs about how refs they make changes throughout the playoffs a lot more frequently than they do during the regular season. So I think one thing that we see today is a lot more fouls called in this game here. That's going to disrupt the offensive flow of the Lakers, and I think that's going to benefit the Grizzlies for the most part, especially if they attack the paint. Like you said, if Ja Morant suits up, he can attack the paint with his messed up wrist and still create fouls or dish out to 3-point shooters. So if that happens, that could mean AD could be in foul trouble early, and that's going to be bad news for the Lakers here. Obviously, you don't want to rely on that to cap a game, but for the most part, the Grizzlies typically bounce back strong after getting embarrassed by a team. Losing by double digits, specifically, if the Grizzlies this season avenging a double digit loss, 8-1 straight up, winning 6 of those games by double digits. So, in my opinion, I think this is, like you said, I think from the psychology aspect of the playoffs, this is one that the Grizzlies really need. And historically, this season, they've done well in avenging these types of embarrassing losses. So I do think the Lakers end up winning this series. I just don't think it's going to be a sweep. And if the Grizzlies win a game, it should be this one tonight here. But Jeff, what are your thoughts on this game? Do you see anything from a side or total aspect?
Yeah, I agree with you guys completely. I think that we saw it just out of game one. This is the Lakers series to lose, but we all know I'm a Cavs fan. We won't harp on it last night, but I think this is a similar situation to what we saw in that Cleveland Knicks series last night. And we saw Cleveland lose the first game, came out and win by 17 in the second game. I don't think that happens exactly with Memphis. I don't think they get a 17-point win here tonight. But you look back since 2017, teams that have won game one of a series as an underdog in game two, just 5-17 straight up and against the spread. And that actually applies to the second game we're going to talk about here too. But this just isn't a game that situationally, I can back the Lakers. They're just 9-20 against the spread off a road win in the last 2 years. they're losing those games straight up regardless of the line. And we got a Memphis team that we talk about how Denver's done at home this season, but I believe Memphis has the best home record in the West. So, that's something that you're looking to defend. I think they drew a short straw here, getting the 2 seed and having to face one of the most experienced playoff teams, if we want to call it that, with LeBron and with some other big pieces. So, unfortunately for Memphis, it's going to be a tough series to win in the first round, even as a number 2 seed. But they got to be the 2 seed for a reason. And in a home game with this, caliber and the pressure of a must win, basically, as you guys both said, a must win situation game in game 2 of the series. I think it's one that Memphis can get it done. And this is definitely isn't one that I'd be betting against Memphis on tonight. So I'm with the Grizzlies tonight too, and Lakers in the long run. I'm right there with you guys.
I like it. All right, let's move on to the next game here. We got the Heat and the Bucks. Another game with a whole bunch of injury implications here. We got the Heat who took game 1 of the series. And one thing that I looked at here, dating back to 2019, the Bucks are 1-9 against the spread in game 1 of a series. So it's one thing that continued to kind of hurt them here with Coach Budenholzer. However you say his name, but for the most part, that's one thing that kind of continued in game 1. So that's one thing that you guys can keep in your pocket for round 2 if the Bucks make it there, and I think they end up doing that. One, we saw the Heat shoot lights out pretty much, 60% from the field, including 60% from 3. I definitely don't see that happening again today with or without Giannis on the Bucks side there. Like I mentioned, the injury news on that side, Giannis is considered doubtful, so likely not to play there. Wesley Matthews is already out. And we know on the Heat side, Tyler Hero is out for the Heat, and he'll be out for the remainder of the playoffs, basically. So even if they continue, they'll be shorthanded. Lowry is questionable, but I think I saw right before the show that he should be playing today, or he expects to play today. So what are your thoughts on this one, Jeff, as far as, this game here, not knowing if Giannis is going to play, but do you think he ends up playing, or do you think he's likely out?
I this is the one I kind of alluded to with those injury implications. I mean, you said it, the 3-point percentage of Miami, I don't think it holds up, especially with Tyler Hero not in the lineup tonight. And Antetokounmpo, I don't know. I mean, I'm not, this is definitely a game that I'm not touching until we figure out for certain, just because, I would normally probably say that Antetokounmpo wouldn't play in a game 2 of a 7-game series if you're doubtful, if you're really questioning, longevity concerns. You may give them the game to rest, but you're already down 0-1 in the series. I think it'd be a completely different story if you were talking about, winning game 1 after Antetokounmpo left and being up 1-0 and getting the second game at home and potentially resting him for a game. But, as much as we talked about Memphis having a must win kind of situation, I don't think this is quite as dire need because Milwaukee can go out there and win in Miami, obviously. But that 60% shooting number that you said from Miami, Milwaukee's allowed, nearly that in 3 straight games. Sure, they may not have put 100% effort into every one of those games, but they've lost 3 straight games by double digits. They lost by 23 against Memphis, 16 against Toronto, and then 13 in game 1. And all 3 of those games, the opponent shot over 50%. I mean, Memphis shot 57 and Miami shot 59.5. Milwaukee is 10-1 against the spread off an upset loss, and Miami's just 6-25 after an ATS win. So not really covering back to back here, but I would have to wait to see what happens here with Antetokounmpo because doubtful makes me think he's not playing, but Milwaukee going down 0-2 in this series would be changing for the entirety of the playoffs for all the teams involved, at least in the East. So I think this is close to a must win almost for Milwaukee. You can't lose 2 games at home here, but we'll see what happens with Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, that's a fact too. I mean, I think one thing to mention though, the Bucks really have done pretty well, even when Giannis has been out during the regular season. Obviously, this is the playoffs a little bit different, but Matt, what do you think about this game here? Do you see anything from a side or total perspective, or focusing on a prop?
Yeah, in this game, I think you definitely need to wait on the Giannis Antetokounmpo news for sure. But with that being said, even when you look at the Miami Heat right now, with Tyler Harrow being out, I think they miss a lot of their scoring in that spot. Someone that you definitely have to pay attention to at all times from the outside, from the mid range, attacking the basket. Harrow's also a very solid rebounder from the guard position, so someone who does help to attack the glass on top of that. And without him, you're kind of really relying on guys like, Kyle Lowry, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, obviously Jimmy Butler. He's coming off a big game. And then someone like Bam Adebayo. And when you say all of those names, one thing that initially comes to mind is the consistency issues. A lot of those guys are up and down in terms of games. And when you take a look at the Milwaukee Bucks, to your point, Ron, they've played fairly well without Giannis because this is a very experienced team. This is a team that has won a championship together. They're not only just good offensively, they're good defensively as well. And, Miami was playing very good in that game even before Giannis got hurt. But when a key guy or, the leader of your team, the star of your team goes down like that, you could be shell shocked a little bit. And, you could kind of turtle a little bit and not play as well. So I think this Bucks team is really just going to regroup, come focused in game two, and like we said earlier, if the away team gets one game while on the road, that's exactly what you're looking for when you go out in the road in the playoffs. And now the Bucks have the job to get it done at home in game two. So for me, I really do think they're going to get it done. Even without Giannis, they still have guys like Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, who's coming off a very good game, Bobby Portis, who when he gets extended minutes, he's someone who can really fill up the basket, stuff like that. And two guys that I was also looking at, Joe Ingles, I think he's going to be someone who's a very nice addition down the stretch in the playoffs. Jay Crowder, I think he's going to be a very nice addition down the stretch in the playoffs, especially matching up with someone like Jimmy Butler here. So for me, too, and you even look at Bam Adebayo, his match will be Brook Lopez, which is definitely a tougher matchup for him. So again, I just think the inconsistency issues of the Miami Heat could come alive tonight, and because of that, I think the Bucks are going to take advantage. And I know this is around a 7.5, 8-point spread, and I'd actually be with the Bucks here. It's not an official play or anything like that, but I do feel fairly comfortable with the Bucks tonight.
Yeah, I think right now we're seeing it at like 6 or 6.5 at most books there. But I mean, I think Giannis being possibly out is obviously it's huge, right? You can't replace Giannis, but I think Harrell being out for the Heat is just as big. You mentioned how big of a piece he is to that offense and what he brings to the table. There's not much on the bench that could kind of replace what he can do. This season without Harrell, I looked at this season without Harrell in the lineup. 7-8 straight up, 6-9 against the spread. But if you look at it when they are the dog in the situation like they are today, they're 0-5 straight up, 2-3 against the spread. They don't do well offensively at all. If you want to dive deeper into those and you add that Butler is in those games because of uh obviously the line adjustment and things like that with both Harrell and Butler out, it changes the game. But if you look at it with Harrell out and Butler in, 0-2 straight up and against the spread in those two spots there, they're just not able to make it up. On the other end, if Giannis sits, the Bucks as favorites without him are 10-1 straight up, 6-3-2 against the spread this season. You dive deeper into that one as well. You touched on key guys here, Drew Holiday. There was games where both of those guys were out. Even the top three players were all out. But if we look at Giannis out and Drew in the situation, 6-0 straight up, 4-1-1 against the spread as a favorite. I think they just do a better job of replacing what he brings to the table on one-off situations. They're just built like that. They have a lot better depth. You touched on some key guys that could probably step up here in this situation. Jay Crowder, I think, could be a guy that just focus solely on stopping Butler, and that allows that they're gonna have to ask other guys to step up. And from a prop perspective, it's gonna be one of my best bets. But I know one guy on the Heat side that could probably step up for them. But for the most part, I don't think it's going to be enough to cover that spread tonight or even be close to winning. I think the Bucks get it done with or without Giannis because we know for a fact Harrell is going to be out. From the prop perspective on the Bucks side here, I don't have it available to me. I don't know if you guys do, but once Bobby Portis gets available, I would take his rebounds and points for the most part. I don't even care what number it is, to be honest, because if I expect the Bucks to win and Giannis is playing hurt, if he plays, so if he's out, obviously his numbers should go up. But if he's in and the Bucks end up winning by a good margin, they're gonna limit his minutes regardless, and we're gonna see more minutes from Portis. So I would see rebounds and points from him there. Did you guys have anything else to add on this game before we move on to the last one?
No,
I
I
do
think
think it's
Portis is a great
interesting.
look. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Chris.
I
I'm
was
sorry.
just gonna say, I think it's interesting. I just went to double check to see if FanDuel had those numbers posted for Portis. They don't, but they have Antetokounmpo numbers up actually. They have 28 and a half
That's
points listed
interesting.
for Antetokounmpo. Yeah, so
Okay,
that
maybe
is
that's
kind of
why I saw
funky.
7.5 and 8.
Yeah,
It's
because
a lot.
FanDuel has
Yeah.
-8 too. So I wonder if
Okay.
it's changed. I wonder if Antetokounmpo's looking like he's suiting up because they changed the -8 and they have him listed at 28 and a half points.
Hmm.
Oh shoot, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I did see it at -6 earlier. I didn't notice that it moved up. So maybe there's some news that Giannis is possibly gonna play tonight. I don't
Yeah.
know, man. I still like the Bucks here. Obviously, probably
Yeah.
better now that he is playing. But
Yeah.
for the most part, if they dominate the game, like I said, I think Portis is gonna get a lot of good run there. All right, let's move
Yeah.
on to the last game here, which is the Wolves and the Nuggets. The Nuggets took game one pretty easily, guys, 109-80. The Wolves shot 37% from the field, pretty much got dominated in every aspect of the game. I think it's pretty apparent that they're missing Reed and McDaniels here, two key guys that brought a lot of depth and versatility to that squad. Jalen Noel and Rudy Gobert look like game time decisions at the moment. I would expect them to play. Joker is officially listed as questionable tonight as well. I think he plays as well. This one is I feel like it's a one-sided series here, guys. Matt, what do you
Yeah.
think here? Do you think the Nuggets can take care of business tonight at home?
Yeah, 100%. I think in game one, we saw how mismatched these two teams are. The Timberwolves, like you said, definitely missing Naz Reid, definitely missing McDaniels. McDaniels was a key defender, somewhat of a spark plug coming off that bench, too, or the starting unit, sorry. Able to give this team, 10 points, 15 points, and whatever random spots. Same with Naz Reid coming off the bench. Those 10 points, 15 points are so key, especially in a playoff game like this, and a team like the Denver Nuggets who has so many guys who can go out and fill it up. Jokic. In this spot, I personally think he's right in line to potentially get another triple double if this game can remain close. He had 14 rebounds, 6 assists in only 28 minutes in game one. So if he sees 35, 36 minutes here, I think that triple double is right in line as well. They're also playing at home. This is a team that's 34-7 at home this season. So they really feed off that home crowd. They have guys who can make outside shots like Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and Jamal Murray didn't even play that great in game one. So I think this is a spot where he could definitely go out and have a better game. He does have Mike Conley generally matched up against him, so that's a matchup he can usually take advantage of. And then again, like I said, Michael Porter Jr., very much a spark plug from the outside. Aaron Gordon, a guy who can attack the basket, get rebounds, a very good defender on top of that. And when I first looked at this series, I did think the Timberwolves could get one game, maybe two games. And now, after seeing game one, I'm not so sure that they can get any, if I'm being honest. This is a spot where I do think it can remain close a little bit longer, maybe up until the fourth quarter. But once again, I think this Nuggets team is just too much for a team like the Timberwolves, and they're eventually going to pull away. I do think part of the reason that game was the way it was because guys like Karl Anthony Towns had a dreadful game. Anthony Edwards played decent, but they need those two guys to really have 25 points plus to keep this game remotely competitive. And they're definitely two guys who can go out and do it. And I expect a bounce back game essentially out of both of them. Not sure if I'm going to really take their point props or anything like that, but I do expect both guys to play better, keep this game a little more competitive. Not really a game that I'm personally going to touch. I'm going to look more so on the prop side in this game. My best bet is from this game, actually. But if I were to go one way tonight, it would definitely be with the Denver Nuggets here.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on this one. I talked about the Wolves who shot terribly in Game One. This was only the second time all season long that they shot under 40% from the field. The first time the Sixers shut them down early in March. The following game they faced the Nets and lost in OT, 123-124. As 4.5 point favorites, now they're 8 point dogs here. The game did go into over in regulation as well. So that might be a look. I think you mentioned how we expect a bounce back offensively from the Minnesota side, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to cover the spread here. I think the Nuggets in game one pretty much dominated in every aspect, like I said earlier. the boards, 54-38 points in the paint, second chance points, even fast break points was 16-3. They, like I said, this is just a matchup nightmare for the Wolves here. The Nuggets, they didn't play excessive minutes, neither did the Wolves, so we should have a lot of energy from both of the starting lineups here.
True.
We expect a bounce back situation here on the Wolves offensively. I would think that this game goes over, but I still don't think that they're going to be um, they're do enough on the defensive side of the ball to stop Denver for the most part. Historically, if we look at round one series specifically, if the home favorites won the first game, they typically win and cover game two. If we look at recent years since 2020, 14-3 straight up, 13-4 against the spread in that situation. That's active tonight with the Nuggets. So I can only look towards the Nuggets in this one. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this game? You're on mute, bud.
Sorry, guys. I had a barking dog in the back, so I figured you'd rather listen to these guys than my dog. But, I agree. And I thought you were going to steal a couple out from under me there, Rob, but I got a couple that I looked up to that actually are very similar to the trends that you just spoke on. But road dogs of 5 points or more when they're trailing in a playoff series, just 6-23 straight up, 8-21 against the spread since 2020. And going back a little farther, since 2015, home teams off a 20-plus point win in game one, they're 17-3 straight up in game two, 13-7 against the spread here. So I think we see, a team like Denver that dominates the first game of the series is looking to go on and dominate the rest of the series as well. And Minnesota, you said it, second time run that they've shot under 40%. It's also only the second time this season that Minnesota's been held under 90 points. And just the sixth time on the year that they've been held under 100. So they are 7-3 ATS in the last 10 as a dog after a double-digit loss, and they're actually winning those games straight up. But I'm kind of with you guys. I'm looking more towards the prop side, and one of those guys that Matt touched on that may have a bounce back game is where I'm going for my best bet. But I think it's pretty obvious that I'm sticking with Denver in this series after how we saw him play in game one. It's going to be hard to bounce back to the point to get a game, especially in Denver for this Minnesota team. But I do think it is a little more competitive, and I am looking Minnesota prop for my best bet tonight too.
Seems like we're in a lot of alignment today for the games as far as how we broke them down. But it's time for the best bet section. I know you were just talking about this game, Jeff, but let's start with you here since we were on it. It looks like you have a prop play on this Wolves Nuggets game.
Yeah, Matt mentioned the name, and I think Cat shows up tonight here. I'm going points plus rebounds. I do think that a couple of the big guys that he's going to be in competition with aren't going to be quite at 100%. That doesn't take anything away from Joker, because even a 90% Joker is probably better than most of the centers in the league. But, with that being said, this is a number that Cat has consistently reached. I mean, he's only been back 11 games since his, injury concerns. He's hit this in 8 out of those 11 and 7 out of the last 9. And one of the 2 that he missed there was in game 1 of the series. The other one was against Portland, and he only played 25 minutes in that game. So in that last 9, he's averaged over 31 points and rebounds per game. And he's hit this number in 15 out of the last 19 games against Denver, and he hasn't missed it in back-to-back. So I do think that this is one that Cat shows up. We obviously know Cat's capable of rebounding, because before you put Gobert in the picture, he was running that center position. So I do expect that kind of size and that rebounding ability to show up from, a power forward position. And Gobert's been listed as questionable for, how many games in a row now at this point. He always seems to play, but if back spasms aren't something I think you want to mess with on a long-term basis, especially when you're looking in the postseason. So, I see them putting a lot of more work on Cat here tonight, and I think he gets a good opportunity. 20, 25 points is easily within reach. Also, 9 rebounds there are easily within reach too. So put them both together, and 28.5 seems like a pretty good number for points and rebounds with me tonight with Cat.
I like it. I like it. All right, Matt, let's go with you here. What's your best bet for today's show? Also, tell the people what you got going on over on sportsmemo.com.
Yeah, guys, I got 2 plays loaded over at sportsmemo.com right now. It's a 2-play package. Might add one more to that as the day progresses. But like I said, I have a 4% best bet. I'm 13-4 in 2023 with 4% money line best bets, up 35 plus units. So definitely good odds with that one. Looking to keep it rolling. And I also have another play attached with it. And for today's best bet, though, it's going to be from the same game. It is also going to be another big man, but this time it is going to be Nikola Jokic over 21.5 rebounds plus assists. All right, in this spot, I really like Nikola Jokic rebounds plus assists because we did touch on it a little bit earlier. You know, Jokic had 14 rebounds, 6 assists in just 28 minutes against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and was definitely a game that got completely out of hand as well. So Jokic didn't get much fourth quarter run. And in this spot, you know, like we talked about, I do think the Timberwolves can keep this close long enough in order for Jokic to hit. And in addition to that, you take a look at this Nuggets team. They're 34-7 at home on the season, very much meaning they feed off that home crowd. So one thing that I really like to do with Nikola Jokic is anytime he's running against a big body center or someone who can potentially slow him down a little bit, someone he can't back down at like just with ease to the basket every single time, I like to look at his rebounds and assists because generally when that happens, you know, someone like Gobert might be able to slow him down a little bit. Maybe a trap comes, something along those lines, and it forces the ball out of Jokic's hands. And then in turn, you have guys like KCP who's filling it up from the outside, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon cutting to the basket. You know, this Denver Nuggets team has so many guys who can fill it up, get easy assists for Nikola Jokic, and I think that's what's going to happen tonight. You know, Rudy Gobert is also questionable, so even if he does miss this game somehow, I still really like the Jokic look. And Jokic loves playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. In his last 6 games, he's hit this number in 4 out of 6 matchups, and in his last 2 out of 3, he's actually had a triple-double in 2 of those as well. And right now, the Nikola Jokic triple-double is plus 185, one of the higher numbers that I've actually seen with Jokic for some time. And the only reason that I believe it's that high is due to the fact that I think the books might be potentially expecting another blowout. So if this game can remain close once again, I think this triple-double is just as much in play. You know, this is a guy who's averaging 11.8 rebounds per game and 9.8 assists per game. So damn near averaging a triple-double every single game. And now you go against a Timberwolves team who runs a higher pace. They're not the best defensively. They don't have that many big bodies after Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. So if in fact Gobert does get in foul trouble, that just opens things up for Nikola Jokic that much more. So I really do love the look of Jokic in this spot. I think his triple-double is something I'm definitely going to be betting throughout the playoffs as well. But in this spot, it's Nikola Jokic, 21.5 rebounds plus assists.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that. I mean, he had 20 rebounds and assists combined in the last game. He only played 28 minutes, and he fouled out. So I think if he gets anything above 30 minutes, he should be able to get over that rebounds and assists there. For me, my best bet for today's show is I wouldn't say he is like unknown, but for the most part, it's due to Harrell being out. I'm looking at Gabe Vincent here, over 15.5 points, rebound, and assist. Harrell's out for the remainder of the playoffs. Lowry is going to be playing today, but she just has not been looking good. So I expect a good usage here from Gabe Vincent with, the best defenders going on Jimmy Butler for the most part in this game here. This season, he's played 12 games without Tyler Herro in the lineup. He's hit the 16-plus PRA in all but one of those games. 2 of those games were against the Heat in January. Against the Bucks in January. Back-to-back games, too, as well. So, and these were his stat lines, guys. 28 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. In the first game, 2 days later, played the same squad, 27 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. So he's getting over that 16 PRA with just points alone against this Bucks team here when Harrell is out. So if you want to even look at and add a couple of things to like a single game parlay, he had 7 steals combined in those 2 games. So I can only look towards Gabe Vincent here. If you want to if you think about it, like I said, Butler is going to draw the best defenders on the floor at all times with Harrell out, and I think Vincent is one of the guys that could put up points in bunches for that squad that Harrell was able to do as like that spark plug, I guess you could say. So that would be the way that I go for the best bet section. I can't talk anyone off laddering this up to 20 as well. To be honest, there's a chance that he gets 16 points alone, and then you just need a couple of rebounds and assists to add on to that. So that's the best bet from a premium side. That is actually one of my premium plays. I do have a 4% total up and available as well. It's all packaged into one single package. So if you want to go over to sportsmemo.com, I think it's a three NBA plays in one package there. That includes that 4% play. With that said, guys, obviously this is the end of the show here. Our next one will be on Friday. I think we got Tony Finn on the panel with myself and Moneyline Matt. Once again, go over to sportsmemo.com. We have everything available there. A lot of the information is free. We got deals pages there for promotions. We have the live odds page. We have free picks and analysis from a lot of our handicappers as well. With that said, guys, we'll see you on Friday, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard. Till then, good luck with all your action. Peace.
Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wager Talk, Sports Memo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wager Talk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.